It was 1 year ago the Clemson Tigers celebrated their first ACC regular season title with a 97-93 win over the Duke Blue Devils. Then, as now, 6'8" Dale Davis led the Tigers inside. And this season, junior David Young has supplied the outside firepower. Coach Mike Krzyzewski knows the sting of Littlejohn. His Blue Devils have lost 3 straight here, and he'll counter the force of Davis inside with his All-America center, Christian Leitner. It's Duke and Clemson next.
Raycom Sports and Entertainment and JP Sports present the best in college basketball, the Atlantic Coast Conference. Today's game is brought to you by Diet Pepsi, US Air, Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company, Food Lion, Lowe's, Ford, Bud Light, and by NCNB.
ACC basketball today from Littlejohn Coliseum in Clemson, South Carolina. The 9th-ranked Duke Blue Devils taking on the Clemson Tigers. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Rathman along with Dan Bonner. Welcome to ACC Hoops today from Clemson, South Carolina. Dan Bonner, this has always been known as a home court league. But what strikes me that's different this season in the ACC is the margin of victory. An average of 14.4 margin of victory for teams in conference games so far.
You're right, Bob. It always has been a home court league. But how do you figure Duke goes to Virginia, loses by 17, then goes back home and beats Georgia Tech by 41, and yet this same Georgia Tech team goes home and beats Virginia by 27. So it's something that drives coaches crazy. This is why coaches are not overpaid. And so it's just one of those deals where it's very difficult to know what your team's going to do any particular day.
We'll find out what's in store today as the Clemson Tigers take on the Duke Blue Devils from Littlejohn Coliseum right after these messages. Coach Clem Ellis hoping the 6th man is in his favor and sitting on his bench today. Looking for some of that home court advantage as his Tigers take on the Duke Blue Devils. Let's take a look at the 4 keys to the game. And for Duke, it begins outside with their perimeter play, plus a sustained effort. And for Clemson, obviously, they've got to eliminate mistakes against that great Duke defense, plus get Dale Davis involved.
Got to eliminate mistakes, and the Duke defense are both right there together, Bob. Duke plays so well on the defensive end, but they also have to get it on the offensive end. One of the things that they would really like to do, if they've done pretty well over the last 2 games, is shoot the ball from the perimeter. These 2 guys are the key. For Clemson, you have a young man, Jimmy Mason. When you're talking about eliminating mistakes, this is a young man who's only played 31 minutes total in 5 previous ACC games, so he's going to have a big load on his shoulders today. Clemson has been very close. They're 0-5, but they actually had North Carolina State beaten on the road. They had Wake Forest on the ropes here, but they just threw the ball out of bounds at some very inopportune moments. And so Clemson's really got to eliminate those mistakes. And they have to remember they got a big guy inside they should throw the ball to.
And historically, Dale Davis has played some of his best basketball against Duke.
He has, but this is the first time he's going against Duke without a pretty big guy named Eldon Campbell as his running mate, and without any legitimately established 3-point threat on the outside. So for Clemson, it's important to get everybody involved because that's the way you get Davis involved.
Okay, we'll meet the lineups and tip this one off from Clemson, South Carolina, as the Duke Blue Devils take on these Tigers right after this word from our good friends at Bud Light. Duke and Clemson. The Tigers have won 3 straight in this building over Mike Krzyzewski's Duke Blue Devils. Let's take a look at the starting lineups today. And for Duke, this is the way that Coach K stacks them up. The Lowe's starting lineup for Duke offers today Grant Hill in that starting lineup, along with Antonio Lang, Leitner, McCaffrey, and Hurley.
Bob, you talk about the youth on Clemson's team. What about the youth on that squad right there?
2 sophomores, 2 freshmen starting today. And Mike Krzyzewski, the winningest coach in Duke history for the Clemson Tigers. And this is the 6th straight lineup change in consecutive games for Cliff Ellis. Today, the lineup features the man you talked about a moment ago, Jimmy Mason, at the point, along with Steve Harris in the backcourt today, Davis, Jones, and Young up front. And Cliff Ellis punching the buttons, the first ACC coach in history to lead his team to postseason play in his first 6 years on the job. Gary Donaghy, John Moreau, and Rick Hartzell are our officials today. This is the 92nd meeting. Duke leading the all-time series, but the Tigers have prevailed at 3 straight years here at Littlejohn, including a pulsating 97-93 win last season. The
Man-to-man defense for Duke.
And David Young draws Billy McCaffrey outside. And Lang with a steal.
Nice job by Lang cutting in front of Davis.
Hurley with a quick bounce inside to Lang. And a personal against the Tigers.
Personal foul against Dale Davis, who didn't mean to foul him. He was just trying to get some position down inside. I don't know that he ever saw Lang. Not an auspicious beginning for the Clemson Tigers. We talked about cutting down on mistakes, and they make 2 of them the first minute of the ball game.
Billy McCaffrey on the right wing, feeding to Hurley quickly inside to Leitner, shooting over Davis and missing. And the Tigers with Ricky Jones rebounding.
Leitner's such an offensive factor. It's going to be a tough game for Davis. He's going to have to defend Leitner without getting in foul trouble.
And then worry about Christian all over him at the other end. Bounce inside. Harris off the window.
Nice ball movement by Clemson. Grant Hill turned his head and the ball just went right by it.
You'll notice Grant is playing without that nose protector today. First time since he broke that nose in practice following the Virginia game that he's gone sans mask.
Well, he looks more like a basketball player and less like an axe murderer now.
Here's Hill driving and missing. Davis controlling, and the Tigers have it. Near steal by Hurley. It turns into a 2-on-1, and Jones bobbles it.
And that's one of the things that Clemson just has not been able to do very well, is run in transition. Here they get a steal, though, on the transition defense.
Jones again. This time he's fouled by Hurley.
Ricky Jones finding the ball very elusive on the fast break. You can see Cliff Ellis.
He has died 1,000 deaths this season.
Boy, you can understand that reaction. They had 2 layups and didn't score on either one of them. Now they're not going to get any opportunities at the free throw line.
Tigers get it into the corner, and Davis, and Leitner drapes it.
Leitner doesn't want to foul him out there.
Davis dribbles close and scores.
Leitner went for the steal in front of the Duke bench, and he doesn't need to do that against Dale Davis. Davis is a threat from about where he shot the basketball.
Hurley, he's been hot from outside lately and nails his first 3 of the day.
Well, I'll tell you, if he's going to make that 3-point shot, and that was a tough 3-pointer right there, if he's going to make that particular shot, I think Duke becomes a much, much better basketball team.
Hurley shooting 50% from 3-point range in ACC competition.
And they weren't bad to begin with, Bob, as Jones rolls that one in.
Ricky's first bucket of the game. 6-2-3, Clemson leading. Grant Hill, that's going to be a charge.
Excellent defense by Steve Harris. You notice as we get a look at it here, Leitner's going to put the ball on the court and try to drive by Davis. Harris just a step toward Leitner, makes him pick up the ball, moves his feet very quickly, and cuts off Grant Hill to the baseline. That's tremendous defense. And really, given what Harris is shooting from the field, his defense is why he's in the ball game.
Jones trying to elude Antonio Lang. This is Young firing.
And that was with McCaffrey right underneath his chin. That was a tough shot.
David Young, really the X factor from the outside standpoint for Clemson. When he's hot, the Tigers have a great chance. Hurley's pass inside is not going to bounce, and it belongs to the Tigers. Coaches, Dan, when they're on the road, often talk about, I want to get to the first TV timeout in pretty good shape. It's almost a role reversal for Clemson today.
Here you get a look at what Dale Davis not only is facing today, but has faced all year. This is pretty good defense by Leitner. You see he'll give Davis a pop coming by. Duke obviously very concerned with covering up Dale Davis. See the attention he draws right there. That's a tough shot. Hill took a swipe at it. Leitner had his hand up. And this is the one thing Mike Krzyzewski did not want to happen. Clemson out of the box very, very quickly with a 10-3 lead.
They've hit their first 5 shots and lead by 7. And they're on their feet at Littlejohn. Lang has to give it up to Hurley. Measures the 3 and missed it. Jones the rebound. Tigers a strong rebounding club.
You see Clemson, even with that rebound, electing not to get it out on the fast break.
And instead of eating the 5-second count, Mason calls a timeout. 16:25 remaining in the first half. But things looking through an orange lens. 10-3 Tigers early. From all ages, they've come over from South Carolina to the state today to see their Tigers, and off to a great start. Clemson has hit its first 5 and lead 10-3. Duke's always had problems in this building. They are 9-13 all-time in Littlejohn Coliseum.
I'll tell you what, Bob, they're going to continue to have problems if Clemson's going to make all their shots.
No doubt. And we've got a foul called on Brian Davis, his first and the third on the team. And Mike Krzyzewski's club coming off a loss on Wednesday at NC State. What a roller coaster it has been for the Blue Devils in league play so far.
It's been a roller coaster in league play for everybody, Bob. That's what's always been very interesting about this particular league. Jones and Kubek tangled up with one another. Boy, that's a tough pass in there.
Young for 3.
Good block out. Good block out. Davis got Jones. Leitner got Dale Davis. Too many Davises in this game.
Here's Leitner finding the open man. Greg Kubek had the hot hand against the Tar Heels last Saturday, but missed that one. And Steve Harris brings it up for Clemson. Jump passing to Jimmy Mason. The left-hander connects.
Clemson, which has struggled in the transition game, playing very well in the transition on that particular occasion.
Christian Leitner driving in. That's going to be a travel. A Duke turnover gives the ball to Clemson. That's the 4th miscue for Mike Krzyzewski's team in the early going.
Mike Krzyzewski knows how difficult it is to play on the road. This is a difficult building for him, and he'd certainly like to see his team get some of those turnovers that Duke is famous for. They average 21 forced turnovers a game. Clemson handling their pressure very well at this point in the ball game.
Davis to the cutting David Young. Kubek got him. It's the first on Greg and the 4th on the team.
Not often that you see Dale Davis as the passer, but here Davis takes the ball out to the corner. A good pass to the cutting Danny Young. You can see Brian Davis trailing there. He got picked off outside. Kubek coming in and trying to help. But that's something that Clemson really doesn't do a lot of, because Dale Davis is not really an effective offensive threat out that far from the basket. And maybe Christian Leitner should consider dropping off of him and not playing quite that tough out there.
Cliff Ellis's team has struggled at the line this year, last in the conference at 65%. Young, though, an excellent free throw shooter, comes back to hit this one.
That kind of a stat isn't surprising, Bob, for a team that's 0-5 in the league. For Cliff Ellis and his Clemson Tigers, if one thing hasn't gone wrong, something else has.
13-3. Only the Hurley three-pointer for Duke so far. But now it looks like Thomas Hill's going to get an opportunity at the free throw line.
Clemson's done a very good job on the defensive end in terms of team defense. Thomas Hill that time taking the ball hard to the basket, and one of the ways that you break down a defense is with penetration. You force guys to come over and help. That frees up other guys, and it also creates some tougher defensive plays. And on that particular occasion, Clemson got the foul.
Thomas Hill, the ACC Player of the Week for his great week against Wake Forest and North Carolina. Started the state game on Wednesday, off the bench today for Duke. And he misses the front end. An 85% foul shooter in league competition so far.
Those fans down under the Clemson basket, Bob, really are a rowdy bunch. They yell at the players, and they're mostly little people. They must feel very safe that those big guys aren't going to come across and pop them.
The Clemson Tiger leading the onslaught for the fans. Here's a trap underneath, and Duke gets the turnover. Kubek had it rejected by Jones. Out of bounds, and a foul on Clemson.
And that foul is against Dale Davis, and that's foul number 2 against Dale Davis. Clemson turning the ball over. It's a problem that they've had throughout the year. Kubek with the shot. Now as Jones gets the block. Now watch Dale Davis go after the basketball. He puts his left hand on Kubek, and that's where the foul is called. And the Tigers, with a 13-4 lead, are now going to have to go a while without Dale Davis, who picked up his second personal foul.
Colby Brown has come in to take his place. Thomas Hill. Rebound, Brian Davis. That's blocked by Young and picked out of there by Harris. Tigers push it ahead. Jimmy Mason. Young has some daylight. Jones, the offensive stick back. The Tigers lead it 15-4.
That's weird how that happens, Bob. Clemson had not gotten an offensive rebound today. Of course, they haven't missed any shots, but the first one goes after Davis gets out of the game. Hill hits that one.
Soft touch for Thomas, his first field goal, 3rd point. David Young baseline, puts it up, and a block on Duke, and this one is going to be charged to Crawford Palmer.
We talked about the kind of problems that a guy penetrating to the basket can create for the defense, and you saw another example of it right there. Young taking the ball hard, beating Thomas Hill very far away from the basket, and Palmer just not moving his feet quickly.
ACC basketball is brought to you in part by your Southeast Toyota dealers. See your local dealer for a hot deal now. David Young, who had 34, and a marvelous effort here a couple of weeks ago against the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, scores his 4th point of the game.
Cliff obviously feels a little better, Bob. He doesn't have his face completely buried in his hands, just half of it.
Young hits them both. David with 5, and the Clemson lead is 11. That's the biggest lead this afternoon for the Tigers. Davis gets it back. That block from behind by Colby Young. Kubek tipped by Palmer. Nothing going right for the Blue Devils. Now a steal. Kubek's second, and draws a foul.
Duke working awfully hard for that. What does Dale Davis mean to the Clemson Tigers? This is what Dale Davis means. Duke just plays with the basketball. Now, admittedly, the ball bounces their way a couple of times, but this is great effort by the Duke Blue Devils, first on the boards and then stealing the ball here in the double team. But you have to think with Dale Davis in the game, he's going to pull one of those off before Colby Brown commits the foul. There's Davis. He's watching right at the moment. He's got 2 fouls.
The first point for the Clifton Park, New York senior. Kubek, limited playing time coming off that Duke bench, and then sparkled against the Tar Heels of North Carolina. 9 points and 6 rebounds. Played some great defense and hit a key 3-pointer to lead Duke in that second half charge.
Kubek has always played with great intensity, and that intensity really characterizes the Duke game, and he gives them that when he's in there.
Here's a home run, long court toss. The Tigers, they save it, but into the hands of Crawford Palmer. Back the other way. This is Hurley to the cutting Davis, and that's blocked by Colby Brown, and a foul.
The Clemson coaching staff will tell you, Bob, that the biggest problem that Clemson has had is making the proper decisions. Brown makes a bad decision, throws a very bad pass to Jones, then Jones makes another bad decision to save the ball back in bounds. As you just let that go out of bounds, as a result, Duke gets a 2-on-1 situation. Brown just not able to get back into the play quickly enough to defend Davis without fouling.
Brian Davis, 6'6" junior, and hits his 18th consecutive free throw in league action.
Cliff Ellis knows that with Jones going out of bounds, unless you're sure to whom you're throwing the ball, you just don't throw it up for grabs in that situation. I mean, for heaven's sakes, he threw the ball almost to half court, and that's throwing it toward the Duke basket.
Some very long passes on that last sequence. Jones getting it up now to Jimmy Mason. Jimmy trying to bounce it through a sea of legs, and it went off Palmer out of bounds.
Palmer, that far from the basket guarding a guard, has to be thinking, what in the world am I doing out here?
17-10 Tigers. First half from Littlejohn. Jimmy starts to drive. Mason gives to David Young. The fake, the fire, the basket.
David Young is doing an excellent job moving without the basketball, rubbing his guys off on those screens. Jimmy Mason asking to come out of the basketball game. He's a bit winded.
Palmer connects.
Of course, without Dale Davis in the basketball game, Clemson relatively small. Duke doing a good thing, going inside, taking advantage of that.
Leitner and McCaffrey at the scorer's table for the Blue Devils. Here's Mason operating. Now Steve Harris. Tied up, and a steal by
by Davis and Hill.
And a blocking foul on Clemson. 5 turnovers for the Tigers.
Watch Davis jump very quickly to this double team as Harris dribbles the basketball. Here comes Davis, just really surprises him. Young is going away from the ball and he's wide open, but that's a great double team, so Harris can't get him the ball, and then Hill takes it down and draws the foul. Excellent play by Davis.
The foul charge to Steve Harris sends Thomas Hill to the free throw line. 1 for 2 at the line this afternoon. His 4th point of the game.
Really impressed with the way Thomas Hill's offensive game has improved, Bob. He did a fine job defensively last year, and as a basketball coach, you like to see your kids develop that way.
Here's a young man, Dan. He played inside in high school, so many players have to make that change in their game when they get to the college level. Tyson in the ball game for the Tigers. Sean getting that rebound. 19-13 Clemson.
Leitner and Palmer both in the basketball game at the same time now for Duke.
Andre Beauvais handling it for the Tigers. He came in to take Jimmy Mason's spot. Here's Ellis Burks also in the game. David Young, Clemson operating with 3 guards. Here's Brown, and that's a charge as Palmer takes it. 3rd foul on Colby Brown.
Clemson bench certainly doesn't think so. The fake. Palmer gets his feet established, and that's all you got to do. Feet established, facing the dribble, then you're allowed to move. Palmer's not exactly the quickest guy in the world, and it was interesting on that replay as Colby Brown faked him one way, Palmer actually stepped toward the baseline, so when Brown made his move, Palmer was already there.
McCaffrey airballs it, and it's out of bounds. 12-17 remaining in the opening half. Clemson leading 19-13. Eric Burks working on Bobby Hurley out front. Tyson against Leitner. Tyson, but quicker, got that shot off. Clemson the fortunate rebound. Young from long range. And there's Leitner securing it for the Blue Devils. The Blue Devils 3 of 15 from the floor so far. Hurley's runner goes.
Boy, what a tough shot that was. Switched it from his right hand to his left. Little hook up there.
The Blue Devils are within 4. The biggest Clemson advantage was 11. Blue Devils have scored 9 of the game's last 11 points. And Young ends that streak.
It's good penetration into the interior by Young. Davis threw that ball to Palmer and he ducked.
Leitner's fadeaway. Swish. First basket today for Christian Leitner. 4th leading scorer in the Atlantic Coast Conference at 20.2 points per game.
Since Dale Davis has gone out of the basketball game, Duke's really punched the ball inside. Duke continues in man-to-man defense. They're really trying to do a good job putting pressure on the basketball. And they're going to get a foul against McCaffrey, hanging on to Beauvais. Fellas going to get Ricky Jones up off the bench and get him back in the game. There's Mike Krzyzewski.
And we've got a timeout on the floor. 10 minutes and 55 seconds remaining in the opening half. The Clemson Tigers lead the Duke Blue Devils 21-17. We'll be right back. Harris. And he tells me, Bob, that young Tripp has only missed 2 games at Cameron since he was come into this
Duke radio broadcaster, and that child is much better looking than his grandfather.
Oh,
and if you've ever seen Bob, you can certainly understand why he does radio.
Clemson led by 9, 13-4 when Dale Davis picked up his 2nd personal foul. The Dukes have come back to cut it to 4 now at 21-17, and Leitner comes up with the basketball.
Duke's defense has done a nice job creating some turnovers. And without Dale Davis in the game, Duke has really begun to control the boards. Going to get a foul inside on Clemson. A real nice rebound by Leitner. Cliff Ellis following the officials up and down the court over there, talking about how he feels that Leitner was on the back. That gesture that he just gave, the two arms, that's code for on the back, and then you can hear him say over the back. That's not a new dance step.
That tie, Clips may have stripes on it before the end of the game. Here's the free throw missed by Leitner, and that's an oddity. One of the best free throw shooters in the conference.
Coaches have so much to think about over there on the bench. It amazes me how much time they have to help the officials.
Leitner goes 1 for 2, his third point of the game. 21-18, Duke within 3, and it's going to be touched by Duke. Clemson ball.
Clemson has not handled this full court pressure well by Duke.
Bullpen getting it over to Ricky Jones, and that's going to be
offensive foul.
Yes, it is. Rick Hartzell with the call. Ricky Jones picking up his first personal. Be sure to stay tuned at halftime for the NCL Trivia Contest. You could win a great cruise for 2. Bob Rathman, Dan Bonner, Paul Cameron will be joining us at halftime. The Blue Devils slowly but surely getting back into this game. Tigers have coughed it up 9 times now. Into Leitner, but beyond his reach.
Duke trying to set that up. You can see they put that stack down inside. They're looking to go inside. Leitner just not able to handle the pass by Hurley.
10-minute mark of the first half. Leitner, the block and the foul. Ricky Jones claiming that ball was up on the rim.
I do not know how Tyson got that pass to Ricky Jones. Tyson actually, I thought Jones was out of bounds. This is an impossible angle to throw this ball. Doesn't look like Jones is out of bounds down there. Leitner, I think what he's saying is Leitner got his hand up through the net and blocked the ball. Watch this. Leitner's going to block that from the inside out.
So Jones, and that's what Cliff is motioning about.
Well, in defense of the officials, it's awfully hard to see there whether Leitner sticks his hand up through the rim or not. We have the advantage of looking at it in replay. And it's not an automatic basket if you hit the net. If the ball's on the rim or in the cylinder and you hit the net. But if your hand goes through the net and blocks the ball before it ever gets there, and I think that's what the officials thought happened. Leitner actually stuck his hand up through the rim, through the inside of the basket and blocked that shot, which of course you can't do.
Youngsters, do not try that at home. Thomas Hill with it on the outside.
Particularly if you're not 6'10".
Leitner lays it in softly. He's got 5. And Duke is within 3, 23-20. 9:40 left here in the first half.
And Cliff Ellis gets Dale Davis up off the bench and getting Davis back in the game. He's got 2 fouls, but Clemson just has not been able to defend the interior with Davis out of the game.
And Thomas Hill with a steal into the hands of Leitner. Ahead to Hurley. A 3-on-2. Left to Grant Hill. And puts it in. What a play by Grant Hill.
Again, Duke doing a nice job putting pressure on the basketball. That makes it difficult to make a good pass. Hill steals the pass, gets it to Leitner. Leitner, a good decision there to not throw the long ball, but to get it to Hurley. Hurley comes in. Grant Hill with the nice move. Gets fouled right there.
And the Blue Devils back in it, and Hill ties the game.
That's certainly not any news to Cliff Ellis. You saw that graphic there about what's happened to Clemson with Davis on the bench. Cliff Ellis would have told you his team basically has no chance if Davis can't play.
Tied at 23. More pressure from the Blue Devils. And they've got some problems. Went off the leg of Leitner. Tigers now have a new 10 seconds to work with to bring it up.
Cliff Ellis telling his troops to come up the court and get in position. They get that ball in bounds and everybody runs away. They got to get some options, and one of the options is not the guys in blue.
McCaffrey connects. Duke leading by 2. More pressure, and Tyson brings it over the midcourt line.
You know, Duke got down by 11 points, and they've just turned up the defense to a level that's suffocating.
Leitner clearing to Hurley. Ahead it goes to Thomas Hill. He scores, and Duke leads by 4.
Can't let Hill get out in transition like that. He really can shoot that particular shot off the run very, very well.
trailed by 11. Now leading by 4, and Grant Hill knocks it out of bounds. Last touch by Tyson.
Very discouraged looking Cliff Ellis.
12 turnovers for the Tigers.
His big guy's in foul trouble. He had to take the risk to put him back in the ball game. We talked about avoiding mistakes before the game, and with those 12 turnovers, you can see what Duke has done.
And it is so often the case, Duke cashes in on those turnovers. They make you pay. Generally getting a basket in transition, now trying to score off the turnover in the half-court game.
It's always an advantage if you don't have to play against your opponent's set defense. And Duke doing a real good job with the 3-on-2s, 2-on-1 opportunities they're getting there. Davis steps out of bounds.
8:02 remaining in the first half.
Here comes the pressure once again.
Crawford Palmer guarding Dale Davis, and that count's ticking away, and Tyson grabs it and hands it right over to Harris. Here you take.
Well, Tyson really did a nice job going and grabbing the ball, but there Harris tries to break through a triple team and loses it again.
Kubek 4-3, got it. 30-23 Blue Devils. Keep in mind, Clemson has already burned one time out here in the first half. And we've got a foul on the Blue Devils this time. I think it's going to be on Palmer.
That's really a break for Clemson right there. That ball was about to be lost once again with the Duke pressure. Clemson simply has not been able to get the ball in bounds.
The second foul on Crawford, the 7th on the team. And Clemson will move into the 1-and-1.
Mike Krzyzewski and his discussions with the officials, smiling a little bit more than he was early in the basketball game. The good guy, bad guy routine.
Junior David Young at the free throw line for the Tigers. David has scored 9 points early and hits double figures for the 11th time this year. Coming in, Ricky Jones for Clemson, and Sean Tyson will go out of the game. Duke leading by 6, and Young hits another one. And we've got a timeout on the floor. 7 minutes and 35 seconds left here in the first half, with the Tigers trailing by 5. We'll be back after this word from our good friends at Bud Light. Christian Laettner on the Duke bench for the time being. He's scored 5 so far this afternoon. The Blue Devils have come from 17-6 down to lead it by 5 at 30-25. 7:35 remaining in the first half, and some alarming numbers for the Tigers. Despite the fact that they've shot 64%, that has been all but negated by the turnovers. 13 times they've coughed it up.
Bob, Duke has only shot 38% in this basketball game. The big difference is Duke has attempted 26 field goals, Clemson only 14, so Duke has so many more opportunities and they're cashing in. Clemson in the man-to-man defense. In the ball game, when they got a chance to set their defense, play 5-on-5, so to speak, they did a pretty good job.
Kubek swatted out, but that's going to be a basket for Kubek.
Nobody came to get Kubek. Kubek was able to penetrate all the way to Dale Davis, and I'm sure Cliff Ellis thinks that's a pretty dangerous maneuver to take the ball at Davis. He's likely to get that third personal foul. You'd like to see somebody step in before they get to Davis. Did a nice job handling the pressure that time. You know that's what Cliff Ellis diagrammed during that timeout.
Jones, and now out of the corner. Burks misses. Duke rebounds. Right through the hands of Palmer. Out of bounds to the Tigers.
It's one thing Hurley has a tendency to do is try to force that pass sometime in the fast break. That play just wasn't there.
88 assists, turnovers rather, for Hurley coming into this game. 142 assists. Lob in. Davis is fouled this time by Thomas Hill.
Oh, what attention Davis draws in there. That was a great catch by Dale Davis. A great spin to the basket. With the catch and spin, he's going to get away from Kubek and Palmer. But Hill's right there. There's the catch. Kubek going after the ball. Then the spin to the basket. He gets both Crawford, Palmer, and Kubek on his back. And Hill comes over and gets him on the arm. Good play by Hill. He stopped the dunk because Davis is not a good free throw shooter.
60% overall this season at the line.
You know, he comes into the game, Bob, he and Christian Laettner with the same number of free throw attempts. But Christian Laettner scored almost 30 points more at the free throw line than Davis because Laettner shoots the ball better from the line. Can score a lot of points as a big guy, particularly a big guy like Dale Davis if you're going to make a high percentage of your free throws. He made that one.
Yeah, here's a guy who averages almost 8 free throws a game. And goes 1 for 2. Early. Inside Grant Hill. Nice job.
Once again, you see Duke getting out in the transition, and when Clemson has not been able to set the defense, Duke has been able to get some very good shots.
Mason nearly threw it away.
It's good pressure by Duke. Such good pressure on the ball.
And there she goes. Turnover number 14. 6 minutes remaining in the first half. Laettner.
That was excellent recognition by Hurley out at the top. He saw Davis coming around that screen to try to double team, and Laettner just drifts to the basket. See how far out Davis is? Good recognition by Laettner. He just got the ball at sort of an odd spot, sort of in between, couldn't decide whether to dribble it or not. You know, when you're right at the end of the 5-second count every time you're trying to make a pass, it doesn't make for good offense.
That one batted away by Laettner, and McCaffrey plays ahead to Hurley. Bobby pulls up and connects. Boy, Duke has looked great in the transition game.
They haven't looked bad on the defensive end of the court, which is, of course, where that transition game is starting to understand. They were behind 17-6, Bob.
Mason. Three-pointer.
Mason was probably very surprised that there wasn't somebody crawling inside his shirt, which is what he's seen the entire ball game.
A 7-point Blue Devil advantage. Hurley just throws it up and in.
Oh, my. Cliff Ellis has got to be thinking, geez, they're playing so well anyhow, and then that kind of stuff goes in the basket.
Mason to Burks. He spins it in off the glass. First bucket for Eric Burks, the freshman from Atlanta. 7-point Duke lead.
That was a tough shot by Burks. He had to get it up over Laettner. Did it very well, but there's Grant Hill answering.
40-31 Duke. 4:15 left in the first half of play. David Young. Davis. Dale driving, and this time the personal on Antonio Lang.
I believe, Bob, if Antonio Lang had just held his ground in there and not tried to reach his hand around and knock the ball away, that may have been an offensive foul on Dale Davis. Watch Davis as he picks up the basketball here. Now, he's no threat from out there, so he puts it on the deck and drives into Lang. Now, Lang is in position right there, but as he wraps his arm around Davis, that's why the foul is called against him. And it's rare that you see a guy like Dale Davis get in foul trouble, Bob, and only commit fouls on the defensive end of the court. Most of the time, the guy's going to get at least one offensive foul, and he very nearly got his offensive foul right there.
1 for 3 at the line this afternoon for Dale Davis. Came to the game today needing 9 points to pass Tree Rollins and move into 6th in the all-time Clemson scoring list, but he can't buy one. He's missed 3 straight at the line, and it's 40-31 Duke. Laettner with some daylight. Bovain rebounds. Davis kept the dribble alive. Plays to Jones. Fakes out to Bovane. And a steal by Davis. Look out below.
What anticipation by Davis.
Well, they play those passing lanes so well. So active defensively.
They've gotten great pressure on the basketball today, and that makes it very difficult to find the proper lane there. Clemson gets a break as the ball bounces away, but their Duke picks it up. That's tough play. Clemson really needed that basket that just rolled off.
Hurley for three. Leitner with a tip. Blue Devils have it. Lang scores.
And you have to think that Dale Davis being just a little bit careful inside with those 2 personal fouls, trying not to pick up number 3.
44-31 Duke.
See, Leitner could get off Davis, get into the passing lane. That's a nice job.
Young spins and fires. Tipped
Nice
up and in
tip
by
by
Davis.
Davis.
Left-handed.
Boy, that's a nice job. He worked so hard for position inside. Just flat beat Christian Leitner that time. Leitner catching himself a little breather as he walks up the court. Hurley waiting for the big guy. Man-to-man for Clemson.
Ryan Davis stumbles, recovers, left it short, got it back, missed it. Lang kept it alive for a moment, but it's David Young to clear it for the Tigers. David Young puts it in.
Boy, that's a good cut by David Young to get that basketball. Brian Davis, as he turned up the court, had a look of disgust on his face. Like, what am I supposed to do? I just can't catch up with this guy sometimes.
1:25 remaining first half. It's Hurley driving. Dishing. Lang had it blocked by Jones, but Davis has it. And a foul on Clemson. Maybe on Bovane for reaching in.
You know, with Dale Davis with 2 personal fouls, that particular offensive set that Duke used right there is very difficult for Clemson to defend. Everybody down, 4 guys down on the baseline. Bobby Hurley with the entire court to operate is going to be able to penetrate by. Davis goes to help. That's a foul situation right there. So it's a real good offensive set for Duke with Davis in foul trouble.
Ryan Davis with 2 free throws. 2 for 2 today. And you see his season statistics. It's the first one he's missed in 20 tries in league play. The announcers for this game selected and compensated by Raycom Sports and Entertainment and JP Sports. And the use of this broadcast without the express permission of Raycom and JP Sports is prohibited. Tyson clearing for the Tigers, and Jimmy Mason brings it up with 1:12 left in the first half. The Duke lead stands at 9. David Young had that one blocked, but got it back and scores. 15 first half points for the Greenville junior.
Young doing a tremendous job without the basketball. Davis is playing pretty good defense against him.
Hurley missing a 3.
Now what do we got? Looks like Crawford Palmer. Cliff Ellis has to be holding his breath every time the whistle blows anywhere in the neighborhood of Dale Davis.
Pretty quietly, Dan. Clemson's got a chance to cut this down substantially here before halftime.
You saw Cliff Ellis say that's 2 shots, and he's right. That's team foul number 10 against the Blue Devils. So it's going to be a 2-shot foul down on the other end.
3rd foul on Crawford Palmer.
Davis going to the free throw line once again.
Well, Clemson has come back after having the wheels come off the wagon, and they've cut it to 7. And then Dale has a chance here to knife into that Duke advantage a little more.
Bob, the difference, I think, the last couple of minutes is Duke has had to play against the set Clemson defense for the most part. I think when Clemson's not turning the ball over, they've played well enough on the defensive end that they ought to be able to stay in this basketball game, and they're showing us that.
10 Tiger points at the foul line this afternoon. 44 is the score. We've got a timeout on the floor here at Littlejohn. 48 seconds remaining in the first half. It's Duke by 5. We'll be right back. 48 seconds remaining in the first half. Take a look at the Duke bench, and they have gotten production off that bench. Outscoring Clemson 19-2. Dan Bonda, the one stat there that kind of jumps out and hits you. Sean Tyson, he hasn't given the Tigers that usual lift off the bench.
Now that's what Tyson is noted for. He averages almost 11 points a game. Most of those coming off the bench. Tyson has only started one game this year for the Tigers, and so you're right. He has not been as productive offensively as in the past. Now he's matched up against Leitner in the man-to-man. There's going to foul against Bovain right there. Cliff Ellis, it's only 30.
Good afternoon from CBS News. Here's an update on the war. There were new Scud attacks tonight on both Saudi Arabia and Israel. We want to go first to Tom Fenton for a report from Tel Aviv. Tom?
Bob, we've had 2 waves of Scud missile attacks against Israel tonight, one right after the other in both the northern and the central region. Patriot missiles were fired against them. With what success rate, I don't yet know. The Army says there are no casualties reported so far, but we'll know more as the night wears on. Bob?
Thank you, Tom. The Saudi capital of Riyadh came under a Scud attack tonight also, the 5th in a week. A Patriot missile was launched into the night sky there. We want to bring in Alan Pizzi in Riyadh for the latest on that incident. Alan?
Bob, one Scud missile came out of the cold, clear, dark night tonight. 2 Patriot missiles were fired at it from different directions. One of them at least appeared to have scored a hit because the Scud went down. It hit the ground with a huge ball of flame, but we're told it fell in an uninhabited area on the outskirts of the city, a large sandy expanse of waste, we were told, and there were, as far as we know, no casualties.
All right, thank you, Alan. The huge oil slick started by the Iraqis is continuing to spread. Parts of it are on fire now. The slick now extends from its source off the Kuwaiti coast to Saudi beaches 50 miles away. The allies say the Iraqis opened the valves at a main Kuwaiti supertanker on Tuesday, setting off what may become the world's worst oil spill. Anti-war demonstrations were staged across the nation today. In Washington, tens of thousands gathered to demand a ceasefire and immediate troop withdrawal. Meanwhile, the Pentagon reported at least 24 Iraqi planes have landed at airfields in Iran. No clear reason why.
We now return to WRAL TV5's regular programming.
Billy puts in the free throw for his 7th point. More Duke pressure. 16 seconds left in the half. The Blue Devils by 10. Ricky Jones brings it ahead, stops. Here's Harris. 7 seconds. The long 3 is an air ball by Mason. It's out of bounds, and Duke's going to get one more chance at it before halftime. Boy, the last few seconds have really unraveled for Cliff Ellis.
For the most part in the first half, Bob, Clemson did not play too badly. Boy, Hurley really being held big time right there by Mason.
Leitner at the buzzer. Missed it. And the first half is history.
Clemson has had a couple of bad stretches, Bob, and in those bad stretches, Duke has really taken advantage of it. They had cut the ball game to 5, and now Mike Krzyzewski's Duke Blue Devils blow the lead back to 10.
We're at the break at Littlejohn Coliseum in Clemson as the Duke Blue Devils look to break a 3-game losing streak here at Littlejohn Coliseum, and they take to the locker room with them a 10-point advantage at 49-39. Now let's check in with our halftime host, Paul Cameron.
Okay, Bob, Dan, thanks so much. At halftime, as you guys pointed out, bench scoring has been big in this game, 19-2 in favor of the Duke Blue Devils, but Duke has had 9 players who have gotten into the scoring column, so they're getting it all across the board, and Clemson got up by 11 on David Young's shooting. They're now down by 10 at halftime. We've got a lot to come in our halftime. We've got an upset in the ACC already today, and our game, all that and more coming your way after this word from our good friends at Bud Light.
Today's ACC action is brought to you by Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company, Ford, Norwegian Cruise Line, Diet Pepsi, Food Lion, and by NCNB.
Let's talk about the ladies of the league. Two teams in the top three again this week. Virginia Lady Cavaliers beat Wake Forest on Thursday by 17 points. They're 17-1 and top ranked in the country again in the AP poll. Penn State is number 2, and North Carolina State Lady Wolfpack beat the Tar Heels on Wednesday by 10 points, 79-69. And don't forget Clemson. They're in there at 12-5 record. They beat Georgia Tech on Wednesday. They host North Carolina a little bit later today. Our score here at halftime, 49-39, Duke leading Clemson. And we will continue after these messages from the Atlantic Coast Conference. Maryland in College Park knocks off the Wolfpack of NC State, knocks them out of a tie for first place. Their second loss of the year, 104-100, the final in College Park. Virginia, number 18 ranked, in South Bend this afternoon, taking on Notre Dame. At halftime, the Irish lead by 6. Vegas, number 1 in the country, has already knocked off Denny Crum's Louisville Cards in Louisville today. Tennessee and Ole Miss at halftime. The Rebels leading that one. Connecticut, UConn, that's a final, has lost to Seton Hall in the Big East as Connecticut upset today. East Tennessee State in the second half leading VMI 85-52. And number 11 at UCLA, 45-36 in the first half over Oregon. Michigan State is trailing Indiana. The Hoosiers up big, 91-63 in the second half. And the Bearcats of Cincinnati have beaten Southern Miss. And that's an upset, 76-69. Now it's time for the Nationwide Insurance Scholar Athlete of the ACC. Tricia Gardette is a junior at Duke. She has a 3.3 grade point average in electrical engineering. She was also first-team All-ACC on Duke's field hockey team and led the team in scoring with 15 goals and 5 assists. Congratulations to Tricia Gardette, our Nationwide Insurance ACC Scholar Athlete. Our halftime score once again, Duke leading by 10, 49-39 over the Clemson Tigers. Atlantic Coast Conference basketball on Raycom Sports and Entertainment and JP Sports will continue after these messages from your local ACC stations.
First half about the Clemson Tiger turnovers. They made 17, but 14 of those turnovers were the direct result of Duke steals.
Duke doing a great job on the defensive end, and that's what Duke has to do because they are not really a real good perimeter shooting team. Here's one of these turnovers. You can see Davis just sneaking up there. Clemson player never sees him. He's able to take it, and this is the kind of easy opportunity that Duke was able to create with the turnovers. Now, it hasn't been all gravy for Brian Davis. He's been trying to keep up with David Young, and at times that has been difficult. Here he blocks the shot. Young in the right place at the right time for the rebound. Young has 15 for the Clemson Tigers. As we said in the first half, Bob, Clemson did not play horribly throughout the half, but they had a couple of real bad stretches, and Duke just took advantage of those bad stretches.
And took advantage of a couple of lapses at the end of the half to build a 10-point lead. 49-39, and we'll be back for the start of the second half right after these messages.
Exclusive coverage of ACC basketball is brought to you by Nationwide Insurance, Infinity, True Value Hardware, Gillette, and by Buick.
Stay tuned for the NCNB Players of the Game Award. NCNB will contribute $1,000 to the ACC to be distributed among the member institutions under a conference-approved plan. That's the NCNB Players of the Game to be awarded near the end of our broadcast. Just about set to start the second half. A quick check of the halftime statistics. And it shows the Duke Blue Devils shooting 48.6% from the floor. Clemson at 58.3, but that turnover column weighed heavily in favor of the Tigers. And you see the points off turnovers and the bench scoring. Shaw Tyson has to get going for the Tigers to make a comeback in the second half.
Those points off turnovers, really the key to the game, Bob. You can see 11, the difference 11, the difference in the game only 10.
Leitner, a three-pointer. Duke started the game with a three-pointer, their first basket from Bobby Hurley, and Leitner drills one, his 10th of the season. Mike
Krzyzewski certainly hopes, however, to start the second half with a three-pointer, that his team doesn't wait quite as long to score their second basket.
No doubt. Davis guarded by Leitner, and Jones handles it.
Duke staying in that man-to-man defense that has been so effective.
Inside, Davis dunks it after Leitner nearly batted it away.
Leitner had his hand on the ball. That was an awfully difficult pass that Ricky Jones was attempting to make, but for Cliff Ellis and the Clemson Tigers, maybe a sign of better things to come. Ball bounced their way. Clemson staying in the man-to-man as well.
Grant Hill working on Harris, and now out front it comes to Hurley. Getting the Blue Devils set. Hurley takes it down the right wing to an open Leitner, and he missed that one. Young the rebound.
Making Davis work hard. Davis coming all the way across the lane trying to get it over the screen and not doing it.
Into Dale. Leitner got a piece of it and a foul as well.
You know, at halftime, Cliff Ellis went into the locker room, and very possibly he could have made Dale Davis stand up and introduced him to his teammates. This is where they got to go with the basketball. That's a great job getting position. You can see Leitner, he's thinking about what he's going to do, but he's just not able to get in position fast enough. What happened was that the Clemson Tigers were able to get Davis the ball in that split second when he's open before the defense can cover him up. Duke's pressure on the ball in the first half made that impossible for Clemson.
That is the 7th free throw attempt for Davis in the game. He has 3 of 4 field goal attempts in the game.
It's got to be frustrating for Davis. For that split second, he's open, and in the first half, his teammates weren't able to find him. And that's frustrating for Cliff Ellis that he can get his big guy to the line, and now he's only 3 of 8.
Grant Hill lays it home. 9 points for the freshman, and the Duke lead is up to 13.
Clemson just not getting back quickly on defense.
Harris connects. Second bucket of the game for this freshman from Simpsonville, South Carolina.
Real good strength. Hurley had his hand right on the ball, and Harris was still able to get it up and get it in the basket.
McCaffrey launches the 3. Lang sneaks in, gets the offensive stick back. He'll try it again. No whistle. And the Tigers clear.
Ricky Jones didn't block him out.
Leitner with the outlet to Hurley. McCaffrey into Grant Hill. Leitner alone up top trying to get Davis out of the lane area. Kick it back to Hurley. That's a Duke turnover.
Davis not moving his feet real well, trying to come around from behind and make the steal. Is lucky he didn't get the whistle.
10 turnovers for Duke.
Cliff Ellis telling his ball club to move. That's a pretty good idea.
Mason to Davis. Around Leitner. Lang comes over. Davis misses. Leitner rebounds. Hurley bounces to Lang. What a great pass.
Lang lost control of the ball going up, but had the presence of mind to tip it in the basket. Great pass by Hurley and a great job by Lang.
Jimmy Mason for 3. Lang saves it. Hurley spinning, kicking it back to Grant Hill. Over Harris. Too long. Another offensive rebound for Antonio Lang. Left it short. Leitner's tip once, twice, and a foul.
See who's going to get the foul in there. It's either going to be Ricky Jones, and that's who it is. It's Ricky Jones or Dale Davis. But Antonio Lang really making his presence felt on the offensive board. You got to block that fella out. It's a good idea to try to block everybody out, but Lang has really hurt him. Ricky Jones not doing a good job blocking out. There's the jump shot. Well, it's that time Dale Davis has him. That's a little hop step there. He got away with one. You see the fans in the background. They know he did. That's really a tough play. Davis not stepping back into Lang, blocking him out. The ball coming off the board very sharply. Lang able to pick it up.
8 points, 8 rebounds so far. Lang getting a breather. Thomas Hill driving Davis and Leitner up front now for the Devils with McCaffrey and Hurley in the backcourt. Leitner has had double figures points and rebounds in 5 out of 6 ACC games this season.
It's amazing his versatility. He leads this team in steals.
Missing that foul shot. Thomas Hill got it back, goes up. Great defense by Jones. Davis, though, is there to put it in. Boy, the Tigers really played that one nicely underneath. They had Hill pinned to that baseline, but Duke's still able to score.
Duke just doing a good job out scrapping the Clemson Tigers at that point right there. And there's Christian Leitner with a great play coming over against Davis. And again, that's an example. Davis was open for a split second, but his teammates not able to get him the ball when he's open. And that's very frustrating for a big guy inside. You work very hard to get open. You need to get the ball when you are open. Good block out that time.
Davis getting it ahead to Mason. Long down the floor. Jones with a nice catch and blocked from behind. Thomas Hill ends up with it, but Brian Davis, the man with the block. And now he'll try to do something with it on the offensive end. Into Leitner. Faking and throws it into the Duke bench.
Mike throws it over to Mike Krzyzewski. Mike was a pretty good guard in his day, but those days are long gone. Throw it to one of the guys in the blue jerseys, not the blue coat.
15:49 left in the half, and now this word from our good friends at Budweiser. Leading by 16 with 15:49 left in the first half. We were talking about the plight of Dale Davis, and a couple of things come to mind as you see the replay. One, he's working with inexperienced guards who are facing a lot of pressure.
Drives you crazy. See the pressure on the ball there by Hurley, and I think that's the key. Davis is coming across the lane, but he's never open. So number one, you've got great pressure on the ball, which is where the defense starts, and Hurley does that. And then number two, Leitner anticipates the cut and is able to step in and steal the ball, and that's what drives a big guy crazy. You get to feel like, gee, when I'm open, I don't get the ball, and then when I'm covered, they try to throw it to me.
Here's Jimmy Mason head up against Bobby Hurley. Colby Brown in the game now for the Tigers. Young, Harris, and Davis. Young will fire and hit. First second half basket for David.
Young scored a lot of points in the ball game, Bob, but they sort of haven't been a factor.
McCaffrey. This is the three. Davis the rebound.
Davis really does a nice job blocking out. That time he got Crawford Palmer on his back. No question about who was going to get that board.
Harris backs it in.
I didn't hear him call it. Did you?
Nope. Take it off the board. 6 points for Steve. 59-47. Duke leading by 12. Just under 15 to play in the game.
Clemson going to try to pick it up on the defensive end of the court.
Thomas Hill short with it.
Hill got his feet tangled up, Bob. Never really got him set properly.
Harris drives through. Couldn't believe he was open.
And speaking of not getting your feet set properly, you see another example of it right there. And now Clemson is going to pick up the foul in transition. And probably that wasn't a bad foul because Duke was off to the races. Had a big advantage on the other end of the court.
Fans, be sure to look for details at Diet Pepsi displays for a chance to win ACC tournament tickets, US Air tickets, or other great prizes from your friends at Pepsi. Bob Rathman, Dan Bonner, Paul Cameron back at Littlejohn in Clemson, South Carolina. Duke leading the Tigers by a dozen as Bobby Hurley walks it up. Crawford Palmer will take it and hit it.
Gave a couple of fakes, figured if nobody was going to come to him, he'd just shoot it up there. Nice job by Palmer in the lane. Duke doing a pretty good job running the half-court offense in this half-court. Ooh.
Back.
What a surprise there. Now, Kubek's claiming that he was pushed. Kubek against Colby Brown, and Kubek's got a point. Colby Brown just pushed him right into Harris. So Kubek, he gets popped one way and gets the foul the other. Kubek, though, he's one of those guys who just looks guilty. So you just, the referee, you never believe him when he's saying, yeah, sure you got pushed.
Davis bottled up in the steal by Brian Davis, and a hold on David Young.
Bob, I don't know when is the last time I've seen a player drop the ball for his teammate and the defense just run down the court with us, but that's twice in this game that the Clemson Tigers have tried that little drop bounce pass, and the Duke guys have picked it up and run down the court. Cliff Ellis is going to tell the guys to get that one out of the playbook.
Thomas Hill over Harris, three-pointer.
It took him a little while to get set for that one, but if he's going to be that open and going to get set, he's showing you that he can knock that one down.
And we've got a foul on Brian Davis.
Clemson able to get the ball inside to Dale Davis. Long pass. It's really a good pass inside to Dale Davis. A good catch in traffic. Crawford Palmer out of position a little bit. Brian Davis trying to step in and draw the foul, but going to pick it up instead.
11 points and 5 rebounds for Davis today. Much better luck from the field than from the foul line. Well, a lot of wasted opportunities For the Tigers, Davis's inability to hit foul shots today, 3 of 9 at the line.
It has been a very long afternoon for Cliff Ellis.
3 of 10. 13:37 left in the ball game.
Got to do little things to win basketball games, Bob. That was a bad miss by Davis, but the ball was coming right back at him. Thomas Hill does a nice job stepping in front and getting in between Davis and the basketball.
Nice pass. Nice lay-in for Kubek. The biggest Duke lead at 19 points.
Kubek comes out and screams at Colby Brown.
He remembers that push. There's a travel on Colby Brown.
Well, maybe it works. It's the shout defense. Well, I don't know we're going to pick it up here. Kubek's coming. You can see his open mouth right there. He just really gave a good holler.
Whatever it takes.
Absolutely.
13 minutes remaining.
You know, a guy does that enough, and you begin to think he's got a couple of loose screws, and that makes him terrifying as a defender.
Palmer, the offensive stick back. Too strong. Here's Kubek inside, faking and hitting.
That's a good, tough play by Kubek. Sort of a two-handed jump shot on the end of it. Draws the foul very effectively. Palmer's going to miss. Now watch Kubek grab the basketball. Again, that yelling there. He's going to go up, keeps both hands on the basketball, throws it in two-handed. Kubek sort of twist and shout basketball here in the second half.
Looking for his 11th point, 12th point of the game.
Good heavens. Crawford Palmer is in the lane yesterday.
And Clemson will have the basketball. Just a tad premature.
You can't go into the lane until the ball leaves the shooter's hand. Kubek gets in position to shoot. There he goes.
Davis, get back where you belong. 68-47 Duke. Now they called the double violation. So.
Well, they, honest to goodness, we're both in there. So the possession arrow is going to switch back. The possession arrow now in favor of the Duke Blue Devils.
Harris missing. Kubek, another strong rebound.
Kubek's having himself a very good basketball game.
Early three-pointer. Bobby's got 2 of those today. 12 points for the game. And Duke leading 71-47.
Man-to-man defense doesn't seem to have lost very much of its intensity, Bob, even though they've built the big lead.
Early. Kubek is open. The 3. Got it. Greg Kubek with 14. That ties a season high.
Clemson guys starting to hang their heads, Bob.
Bovee controls it. Eric Burks connects. That's a 3.
Kubek running at him. Not able to disturb that shot.
I don't know if anybody could do anything with Duke as well as they've played offensively and defensively today, Dan, but I go back to that last 45 seconds of the first half, and Clemson had a great chance to cut it down to about 5 points going into the locker room. It ended up a 10-point deficit with a turnover and a couple of Duke baskets, and maybe that just took all the wind out of their sails. They have been ineffective here at the start of the second half.
You're absolutely right, Bob, but Duke certainly hasn't dropped off at all in the second half. They've done a tremendous job. This guy right here with the basketball has really played well today. He misses that shot right there, but there's Palmer again for the rebound. But Hurley's been very impressive in the transition game. He's got his head up looking all the time for that open guy. More often than not finding him.
Through the double team, Colby Brown's layup is rejected, but that's goaltending. Colby will get the basket. His first of the day. A timeout on the floor. 10 minutes and 41 seconds remaining in the second half. The Duke Blue Devils leading the Clemson Tigers 76-52. 76-52. The Duke Clemson Tigers here with 10:41 to play. One of the weapons of the Duke arsenal today has been the three-point shot. 35% for the season. Today, 6 out of 12.
And you can see there, Kubek 2 of 2. Hurley's got 2 from three-point range. Leitner has 1. Thomas Hill has 1.
You had mentioned earlier, Dan, The great point about Bobby Hurley's ability to hit that three-point and what a much better offensive team this will be in a half court if that part of his game continues through the rest of the season. Clemson gets its easiest basket of the game.
Well, we talked an awful lot about Duke's defense creating the turnovers, turning them into baskets. Clemson with the half-court press. That change at the timeout right there creates a basket.
Thomas Hill inside to Christian Laettner. The right-hand hook drops softly home.
Clemson obviously has to change up something defensively. They go to a trap. Duke moves the ball very well, gets it inside to Christian Laettner for one of those point-blank range babies, and he's not going to miss too many of them.
Grant Hill on David Young in the corner.
That's great defense. Just tremendous defense.
Andre fires, blocked by Hill, picked out of the air by Lang.
Bobby Hurley out of the ballgame. I think that's his first rest of the day, Bob. Just inside the three-point line. He should have stepped back a couple of steps. That ball was slightly long.
9.5 to play. And here's Burks driving in, and McCaffrey fouled him. Stay tuned for the NCNB Players of the Game Award, brought to you by NCNB.
Bobby Hurley, you get a look at sitting on the bench.
Another double-double for Hurley today in points and assists.
Chewing on the towel. 12 points, 10 assists. Very good game by Bobby Hurley, and something that wasn't on that graphic that's not going to be in the scorebook is he did a tremendous job all day of keeping pressure on the basketball. One of the fellas sitting over there on that Duke bench with a coat and tie on, Tommy Amaker, did a tremendous job keeping pressure on the ball from his point guard position.
Eric Burks cans a couple of free shots. 78-56.
So Bobby Hurley playing in that kind of tradition. He's going to get up and come back in the game. McCaffrey loses the ball, but what a tremendous effort. That's not the way the coach likes you to beat the double team, but it'll work.
Laettner.
He walked.
Here's Bobby Hurley coming back in for Duke.
Laettner not very happy with the call, but he's had dancy feet there a couple of times today.
Thomas Hill going out of the game. 9:10 remaining as Eric Burks starts the Tiger offense, and Grant Hill knocks it out of bounds.
Grant Hill just anticipates that pass and goes to get it, and Hurley keeps enough pressure on Burks that once he starts winding up to throw the ball and Hill gets there, he can't get it back. McCaffrey Young really battling.
David Young about a 30-footer.
That was an NBA 5-pointer right there. That was a long ball.
McCaffrey misses. Antonio Lang.
It's got to be very discouraging for Cliff Ellis. There's a Duke offensive rebound, and there's two Duke guys battling for it with no Clemson guys in the vicinity.
McCaffrey short with it. Here's David Young, and the Tigers trying to run. Gives it up nicely to Burks.
Clemson has not had very many transition opportunities. They make the most there. David Young claiming the rebound, getting the break started very effectively.
78-58 Duke. Laettner in to the bucket and lays it home.
Boy, nice left-handed move by Laettner. Dale Davis, I think, playing him for the pass, and Laettner taking it right to the basket.
Davis and Laettner across the arms.
For Christian Laettner, you're playing a guy with the ability like Dale Davis possesses. You're not going to win every one. He lost that one, but he's won more than his share today.
Brian Davis in for Billy McCaffrey.
And the fans down underneath the basket aren't barking at Christian Laettner much like they were early in the game. When your team has a 22-point lead, that tends to silence the home crowd.
Davis 3 of 11 at the line today. Ouch.
The ball looks like it's spinning sideways as it goes up there.
He's missed 5 in a row.
Boy, that's an awful look. We got to get Copernicus or somebody in here to evaluate that baby.
80-58 Duke. 7:43 left is Leitner. Plays over to Antonio Lang. Duke spreading it out here.
For a big guy, Leitner has a good first step with the ball. When he's handling it out on the perimeter like that, it's tough for other big guys to stay with him on that first step. Now Duke going to put everybody down on the baseline, just trying to run some time off the clock before they start their offense.
Davis tangled up that time, and we've got a foul on Clemson. Looks like it's going to go against Eric Burks for reaching in.
Davis really took the ball hard into the middle of the lane. And whether you're playing offense or defense, when you play hard, oftentimes good things happen. A good aggressive move by Davis. Kubek coming back in the ball game.
Brian Davis to the free throw line. 6 rebounds today to go along with the 6 points. A plague on both houses. Brian Davis has missed 3 straight foul shots.
He came in shooting the ball very well from the free throw line. Maybe it's the atmosphere in here.
7 points for Brian Davis, and the Duke lead is 81-58. We've got a timeout on the floor here at Littlejohn Coliseum. The Blue Devils in control. Littlejohn Coliseum, Duke leading Clemson 81-58 here in the second half of play. Coming up on Tuesday night, check the local listings in your area. 9 p.m. tip-off as the Wolfpack of NC State staying on the road. Upset losers today at Maryland. They'll take on the Virginia Cavaliers at Charlottesville Tuesday night at 9. And speaking of scores, the Cavaliers in trouble at the Golden Dome. Notre Dame by 6 in the second half.
Virginia on the road an awful lot.
This Duke team is playing the second of a 4-game road swing.
Well, they dropped their first game on the road swing at Raleigh.
Young bangs it in.
And despite that very fine play by David Young, Duke is going to get a victory here. Victories on the road, hard to come by. That was not over and back. Hurley stepped his foot into the front court, but the ball was in the back court, so that is not an over and back call. Got to have that ball in the front court. And you got to be in the front court too. Both of you got to be there.
Both feed the ball. Here you're talking about Duke on the road. The seniors, Kubek and Buckley, they've been to, all they've known is going to Final Fours in their career. They've never won in this building until today. 81-60, Duke leading.
Well, if somebody told you up top you'd always lose at Clemson, but you'd always go to the Final Four, I think you'd take never winning in Littlejohn.
In a heartbeat. Hurley for 3, missed it. And Leitner there to control it. Davis blocks it, and Leitner hit in the face inadvertently.
Now Mike Krzyzewski is saying, how can that not be a foul? Either that or he's abusing himself over there. I don't know, hitting himself in the head.
Get a better look at it here.
Boy, what a great job by Leitner. Talk about working for position. Davis pushes him away right there. Leitner turns in. I didn't really see where he got hit. We're going to get a basket interference call down on the other end.
81-60. The scoreboard reads. 6:01 left. I think we may have had a foul against Duke. You see Leitner checking it.
Now there's a basket interference call. I was watching the monitor there, looking at the replay.
Yeah, I was too.
Didn't see who the guilty party was. Somebody from Duke, though.
Hurley controlling it. And now Davis. Duke will reset. 5:30 left in the game.
Actually, we understand that the call was basket interference by Colby Brown that negated the Clemson basket. There's again Davis penetrating inside, drawing the foul.
Andre Beauvais picks up his 4th. Here's Sean Tyson coming back in. His playing time
Really has not played very much today. This is a guy that averages almost 11 points a game. It's a lot of minutes for the Clemson Tigers, but not today.
Brian Davis to the free throw line. And for Brian, his 8th point of the afternoon.
And there's Leitner.
Well, you can see where that eye area, all red, where he took the
Must have got a finger
hit from Davis. Yeah. I was thinking at the time it happened, maybe the ball may have hit him in the face too. 9 points for Brian Davis.
Boy, that was great defense by Hurley.
Brian Davis brings it up, plays to Bobby Hurley. Bobby to the line. Back out to Palmer, now to Davis. 83-60.
Clemson went to that zone trap a couple of times, but of course to set that zone trap you have to score.
And Davis to the bucket, lays it in. Boy, another outstanding feed from Hurley.
And the Duke defense once again, they force Clemson to throw the ball a little wider than the court is.
Well, you don't want to wish time away, but Cliff Ellis would just as soon see that final 4:45 disappear. Davis lost the handle. Duke with 14 turnovers in the afternoon. One thing you must say about Mike Krzyzewski's team, they've had a pretty substantial lead here in the second half, and as you pointed out, Dan, that intensity, particularly at the defensive end, has not lost a thing. Davis. And here's Kubek rebounding.
Well, what a ball game he's had.
And Young with the steal and score.
Kubek makes a bad pass, but he was trying to do the proper thing, and that is get the ball on that fast break to Hurley. Here's the zone, the half-court trap. Good decision by Kubek to not try to get the ball across court to Crawford Palmer, who appeared to be open, but the Clemson guys were filling in that gap very quickly. Of course, Duke doesn't really need to score. They just need to run time off the clock.
But Palmer does it anyway. Crawford has scored 8. He made 9 straight starts for the Blue Devils. Coming back off the bench now. Long three-pointer, no good by Burks. And Brian Davis takes it away from Dale Davis. And here's Hurley. And a blocking foul has been called on Eric Burks.
Boy, Hurley drove in there. As he got in between the two Clemson defenders, he just flat out stopped. Somebody grabbed him. The foul was not on the grab. It was on Burks trying to move in.
Marty Clark is coming into the ball game for Duke. And senior co-captain Clay Buckley is also now coming in for the Blue Devils, taking Kubek's place. Bobby Hurley to the free throw line.
Donnell Bruce into the ball game for the Clemson Tigers. Kubek takes a rest.
Hurley scoring his 13th point, and he is responsible for a minimum of 22 passing the basketball, 11 assists today. Pretty good total offense.
Really had a very fine game.
14 for Bob. And Duke leads at 89-62. We will continue with more from Littlejohn Coliseum in Clemson, South Carolina, right after these messages. Leading Clemson by 27 with 3:30 left here at Littlejohn. The Pizza Hut game summary. Duke is just under 50%, and the bench play has been great in terms of scoring, but boy, you go to that defense of Duke, and that's been the story.
Well, you can see there Duke taking advantage of the turnover, scoring 26 points. Clemson getting to the free throw line, but not taking advantage of their opportunities there. Duke now playing zone.
Bruce runs one in. First bucket for the Branchville, South Carolina senior.
Clemson still in the zone press.
clock at 25 as Donnell Bruce grabs Thomas Hill.
Donnell Bruce is first. Foul number 8.
Bob, we had that Duke three-point shooting total up there. It's interesting to note that Duke was 6 of 12 in the first half. They've only attempted 1 3-pointer in the second half. It didn't go in. So Duke running to that 10-point halftime lead with some good three-point shooting, elected to grind it out in the second half.
Thomas Hill is at the line, and he hits it. Thomas has scored 10 here this afternoon.
Talk about the bench play for Duke. He's got 10 points. Kubek came off the bench to get 14. Palmer off the bench to get 8.
5 blue doubles in double figures. They've had as many as 6 in double figures in a game this year. Ball for 3. Tyrone Paul, the freshman from Morningside High School. A high school that produced Byron Scott and, of course, Eldon Campbell here for the Tigers. Another man comes west to play, from the west rather, to play for the Tigers. And Duke gets another inside bucket from Thomas Hill.
Boy, what a great move by Hill to pivot away from pressure and get the ball up on the board. Hill's still hustling out there, even with the big lead.
This one blocked by Grant Hill. Palmer rebounds. Marty Clark brings it up. Under 2 minutes to play.
That defense just doesn't quit.
Nice look. Palmer. No, but there's Clay Buckley with a nice tip in. He played just a minute against Wake Forest. He's had some back problems. Nice touch by Buckley that time. Palmer with a rebound. Outlets to Grant Hill. Duke gets it ahead. This is Marty Clark going in, leaving it for Buckley. Big collision with Burks, and it's out of bounds.
Buckley is not going to say thank you about that. That's like the quarterback throwing the ball just over the head of the receiver, running in the middle. There he threw that and left Buckley very vulnerable, and he got nailed.
1:25 to play. Eric Burks lost the handle, deflected though by Duke, and Clemson with the ball.
Duke in that zone defense is really trying to get out and defend the three-point line.
Tyrone Ball, my goodness. Here's a Dale Davis stick back.
Interesting looking shot.
95-69. Here's Buckley taking the jumper. And inside, Christian Ast putting it in. The freshman from Germany. So everybody getting into the act. 97-69. And Bruce stepped out of bounds. The Duke Blue Devils will improve to 16 wins and 4 defeats, 5-2 in the ACC.
It's the time left in the basketball game.
Clemson's going to drop to 9-9 and 0-6 in the ACC. Davis fouled by Buckley. 25 seconds left. Check at the foul on Marty Clark, his first. So for the first time in 4 years, the men in blue go back to Durham with a victory in Littlejohn.
Got to be impressed with the defensive effort by Duke, Bob. They were, remember, this game is going to end up being a pretty close to 30-point ball game. But let's remember that as at the start of the game, they were behind 17-6.
And Davis finally breaks his streak at the line. He had missed 7 in a row. Grant Hill throws it away in the baseline. Tigers have it. 18 seconds left. Duke on the road, the ACC now. 2 wins, 2 defeats. Sean Tyson missing the 3. Grant Hill's got it. And Grant's going to the bucket and lays it in. And that will put an exclamation point on a very big Duke victory here at Littlejohn Coliseum this afternoon. Mike Krzyzewski shakes the hand of Cliff Ellis as the Duke Blue Devils leave Littlejohn with a big win here this afternoon. The final score, the Duke Blue Devils 99 and the Clemson Tigers 70. We'll be back with some closing comments right after these words.
The 1991 Buick.
U.S. Air, Nationwide Insurance, Central Fidelity, Budweiser, and by Buick.
Travel arranged through U.S. Air with nearly 3,000 daily departures to over 170 cities, including London, Frankfurt, San Juan, Bermuda, and Nassau. U.S. Air, America's most frequent flyer.
The final score at Littlejohn Coliseum, Duke 99 and Clemson 70. Let's take a look at our players of the game. Our NCNB players of the game today for the Clemson Tigers. David Young had 21 points and 3 assists. And our player of the game for the Duke Blue Devils, Greg Kubek, 14 points and 5 rebounds today. He hit 2 3-pointers in the contest. We'll be back to wrap things up from Tiger Town in just a moment. The final again, Duke 99 and the